and what's going on in that space. But yeah, it looks like a lot taking place in the world, including budget deals and what's going on with the price of gas. I understand that even though I don't drive, it's still very high and all along those lines. So that's not a good sign, but hey, that's what's going on. And Mullins is facing a MAGA backlash at Homeland Security, and of course, they just recently did get the one of the job folks to go through. And all along those lines, it was a tight race, but I do understand that they do have a new White House counsel, and apparently Trump's new White House counsel could soon face a subpoena fight. So definitely that's going on. And Russia's only peace party is preparing ahead of stuff going on in September. And yes, there is a pro-peace party in the whole country of Russia. Who knew that? I did not really realize that they had a pro-peace party, but apparently there's one, and maybe Jim knew about that and all in that space. And AOC isn't rolling out running for president or Senate. So we'll see what happens in that space and all along those lines, and whether this is a good thing or a bad thing or how this all plays out in that regards. But I'm going to bring in my folks and see what they've got to say about a number of these stories and other stories as well. And all in that space, I know that Jim is a man of peace, and I know that he's all about peace. And I don't know if he knew that Russia had a peace party, but apparently Russia has a peace party and everything like that. So I guess they're probably not that active under Putin, but apparently they do have a peace party, and maybe they need it because Ukrainian drone strike kills 13 inside of Russia, authorities say, in the deadliest attack in 2 years. So Ukrainian drone attacks kills 13 deep inside of Russia and all in that space. And a refinery was reportedly hit. So I know that war's been going on for a while, so no peace there and everything like that. And Benjamin Netanyahu is rejecting Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan. So Netanyahu calculates upsetting Trump in his least bad option. So I guess he's rejecting the Trump-backed Gaza plan for Hamas disarmament. So I guess he's not going for that in that space. And Iran, like I said, did outline conditions for reopening the Strait of Hormuz. And the oil prices are climbing on stalemate in the Strait of Hormuz. Demands. And apparently there's a typhoon named Dolphin that made landfall in eastern China. I hope that didn't impact Dr. Sharif because he's in Bangladesh. It isn't that far from China, but hopefully it didn't impact him or anything like that. But they said 1 million evacuated as Typhoon Dolphin pummeled East China. So it looks like they were having some very bad rain in that area. And of course, there was the record heat wave in Europe, where Eastern Europe breaks temperature record in a summer plagued by heat waves and wildfires. So it's definitely hot in some places, and there's you saying a wildfire forced evacuation of Summerland in British Columbia in Canada. So wildfires burning in British Columbia forced 20,000 to evacuate. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like the weather is really happy with us. Jim, what are your thoughts? Because even Puerto Rico is having to implement water rationing amid a severe drought. So it looks like even though I know there's some people that don't believe in climate change, it looks like the climate is saying that we're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So what is your take on what's going on with climate change? And as I asked you earlier, did you know Russia had a peace party?
No, yeah, you never know what's going on in Russia unless they tell you, and then you have to wonder if there's another source.
Right.
Um, and usually, if a party in Russia becomes politically effective, it's shut down. At least under Putin, that's been true. And under past leaders, that's been true. Um, so I do know that the Russian people are suffering, and I do know that the Russian people want peace, and that's true of the Ukrainian people as well.
Yeah.
Uh, so what we have is a stalemate. Putin thought that going in and taking over Kiev would have been a cakewalk, and it'd be a matter of weeks, of months, maybe if not weeks, and it turned out to be not true, and so now he doesn't know how to get out of it. And a funny thing, Trump was told by Bibi Netanyahu that it would be a cakewalk in Iran as well, and he thought there would be a regime change, and so he declared a war of choice. Of course, only Congress can declare war, so it's a strategic military operation or whatever the other language is to describe the war. Um, and it didn't happen, and he doesn't know how to get out of his situation either. And it wasn't a surprise to me that Netanyahu refused the Trump proposal because the threat to Israel is Hamas, and without Hamas disarmament, Bibi's not going to be happy. But of course, what Israel is doing in Gaza is reprehensible. We need to be able to stop it. But once people start these things, sometimes it's very difficult. And the only thing that I can say is that don't start them in the first place. It's a better idea.
Don't start the war in the first place. You don't need to do that, everything like that. See, I think to interfere from Dr. Reed. So maybe it's my good. But not that. But it's something I wonder. We kind of took the internet, so Taiwan is probably the internet the first time when their annual war game. They're creative time, so they might kill and everything like that. So let me go in and out. But yes.
Yeah, I'm having a little trouble hearing you, Mark, too. So, yeah, okay. And give peace a chance. Good morning, Dr. Sharif. How are you?
Nice to meet you, James. Thank you for joining. I think I met with you after a long time.
Yes.
So how is everything?
Oh, I cannot complain, and I find that no one listens when I do complain. So
Okay.
it's better not to complain. But it's not morning where you are, is it? What time is
Yes,
it?
it's evening in Bangladesh. But one of the interesting aspects you are discussing about climate change, when you discuss about climate change, if you see this South Asian region, our major climate affected area, actually Himalaya. So this Himalaya, we have glacier melting. So
Yes.
in that regions, actually, glacier melting is happening. And
Right.
from there, it create effect in the Ganga, like in India, inside India. Then when it comes to Bangladesh, we call it Podda. So this Podda region heavily affected by the climate change. And many of the places, many of the land is going under the water because of this climate change related effect. On the other hand, there are we have heavy rain, we have flood, we have even heat wave and many more things happening. And after that, from this Podda, you can go for this Bay of Bengal. This Bay of Bengal is definitely very interesting and strategic place for all of the global power, even this USA and this China and Japan. Everyone has strategic relationship with this area. So this is a place. What I'm discussing about this Himalaya, Ganga, Podda, and Bay of Bengal, it has around 1/10 of the global population, like 600 million people.
Wow.
So from our World Talent Economic Forum, we are introducing green technology and urban planning in this region. Even tomorrow, I have my presentations. We call it ECNIC with the government agencies. So how they go for this Podda restructuring, Podda restorations, how we can connect with Himalaya, how we can make a meaningful relationship with our ecosystem, like natural ecosystem. Also, mangrove is a very interesting place for Bangladesh. So it's in Khulna. So mangrove is a very, very demanding thing for solving climate-related challenges. So this is not alone like in South Asian people or alone Bangladesh. I think that global North and global South can work together for solving these climate-related things. And we should invest more in the climate-related thing. And especially we should invite more green technology like solar energy and so on. After this war, we are observing country like Bangladesh has energy-related challenges. So this may be a complex situations, but we can work together. We can go for open dialogue. We can go for capacity building. We can go for conference. We can go for policy development. We can go for global partnerships and solve this complex problem. So we need to work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sharif. That was a wonderful, optimistic point of view. And I was in Norway last year, and I got up and close with some melting glaciers, and they're retreating there as well. So as you say, it's a global problem, but we have in the United States, anyways, a lot of still climate deniers, and maybe they confuse weather with climate. And, so periodic bouts of weather, whatever it is one thing, but the overall climate is another. And we're experiencing heat waves as Europe is, and, but people are still denying that this change is going on. So before we can actually engage with other people, we need to recognize that this is indeed a reality. This is what we're facing now. And action is really urgently needed. But we have now a president who is favoring the old fossil fuel type of, and denying trying to shut down wind power and these types of alternative energy techniques. So it's an uphill battle here in the United States. And what we do need, we have a world economy, but a global economy, but we need a global community to work on that problem, as difficult as it is, because we don't know when we reach the tipping point in the thing like climate change, when the climate changes so much and the heat is such a difficult problem all over the world. What can we do about it? Already people are migrating from lands that used to be habitable but are now inhabitable to other places, and there's a backlash about that, and fear of people coming into other countries from places that they're fleeing. And we have to show some humanity and compassion to them, but we're not in the United States as a general rule. So we need to change the mindset of people first before we can work with each other across the globe.
However, Trump, our dumbest president, has there's some echo going on. But anyway, he
Oops, you're muted, Rick.
change against his own policy. This is day 100 of gas being over $4 a gallon, the beginning of week 15 under Trump, which means that people can't afford to use as much gas, so that will help a little bit. Also, inflation high under Trump, again, because he started this war and because of tariffs. And people can't afford to have kids, which will have knock-on effects in the ensuing decades. The fewer kids we have, the fewer people there are to burn fossil fuels. And we're supposed to reach peak humanity now in the 2050s with 9.5 billion, which is better than peak humanity in the year 2100 with 11 billion. So those are teeny little helps.
No doubt, it does look like we're getting some feedback every once in a while and everything like that. So everybody will go on mute when they're not talking until I figure this out and everything like that. But definitely, just really quickly, I was just wondering that I did see, Rick, that it looks like the Powerball jackpot is going to be at 905 million since nobody won the $156 million jackpot. So I'm just wondering if any of you gentlemen, because I did see some folks when I stopped at a convenience store yesterday, they were buying their tickets, I guess trying to get their winning tickets. And I was wondering if any of y'all bothered to play this game, or is this fool's gold that nobody really is going to win?
My wife will usually pick up a couple tickets when it gets up close to $1 billion, as if that makes a difference. But and we never get more than like one number out of 6. I don't think we've ever gotten a payoff on a Powerball. The way you do it is you need to be in an office with dozens of other people. And then you buy a couple hundred tickets all together, and maybe you get a little money back. So.
What about you? You ever played the Powerball?
I'm not a Powerball player, but I did play in football pools in the office. But which was, I had better odds.
You got better out there football. I bet you guys going to pick for my fantasy football team because I know I just got my promotion at that time. We'll be having our draft later in and what's that go?
Well, the things about the lottery systems and all of this stuff, it was supposed to be used to fund education.
Right.
And, that was the idea of promoting this because, the government really shouldn't be supporting gambling. And, this is, unfortunately, the misuse of the funds or the funds used for other purposes is part of the issue. And a general breakdown in trust. And so what we need to do is inspire people to go out and vote, because the way the country is headed right now, we're not we're losing allies when we need to be building them, and we're trying to isolate ourselves from the rest of the world, and it's never worked in the past. It's not going to work in the future. And this is something that the only thing that citizens of the United States have the power to vote. And to exercise your vote is the primary purpose of your citizenship, to elect the government that we deserve. And unfortunately, if people sit out, this is the kind of government that we get it. So get engaged, get involved, inform yourself, and vote.
You definitely got to do that. Hey,
Vote early. If you vote by mail, vote early because Trump is going to F around with the U.S. mail. So, Jim, you said that they're not. I thought when we buy a scratcher ticket that half of it goes to education. What are they using for?
Well, in the way they will earmark it for that, and then they will use it for other purposes. And I have found that if you follow the money, it's used for whatever the expense of the day is. So it could be anything.
That's disheartening. When my wife buys a $3 scratcher, I figure we only get $1.50 worth of entertainment out of it because the other $1.50 goes to schools. But you're saying no, it's stolen.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that $1.50 goes to the schools. Some of it does.
Because we're already stealing from schools in the state of California because of Prop 13, which limits property taxes.
Right.
If you live in California, you've got a deal on property taxes. It's much lower than just about any other state. But it also means that roads and schools get screwed.
Yeah, if you bought early, you pay higher property taxes if you buy now. So people hang on to their homes.
Well, the longer they have a cap on how much you can go up per year. So the longer you own your home, the better the deal you get.
Which means that the homes don't come on market the way they used to. So prices go up, which is inflationary. It's very hard to get started. And the other thing that I am against, although it sounded good when I first heard it, is a billionaire tax. And what we have are people that are getting out of people. People like the Trump family who have egregious plans to avoid taxes, although they're making millions and billions of dollars. And so there's an outrage against that in general. The billionaires should pay their fair way. But the billionaire tax only causes the billionaires to move elsewhere. And so it's a self-defeating kind of proposition. Look at Tiger Woods. He grew up in California. And as soon as he started making millions of dollars, he moved to Florida. And this is the kind of thing that we tried it with our best thinking and our best intentions. We produce counter effects. It's like messing with the ecology. And let's take this animal out of this situation, and then there's a snowball effect that was unpredicted, but it was not unpredictable. That when we mess with things we don't understand, there can be consequences that we don't predict.
Here's some
Just
breaking
Iran.
Here's some breaking news. Bad news for Colombia. They just got hit with a 7.4 earthquake. And it's bad news for California because we lie on the same ring of fire. It's been very shaky lately. So we have to hope that any major earthquakes in California wait until after Trump is done being president, because he will say some bullshit like we don't break our forests. He'll come up with excuses not to give us FEMA funds to help recover.
Yeah, and FEMA is another thing. One of the things that has been dismaying to watch has been the sort of in the United States, it sort of didn't matter so much if you were Republican or Democratic president, because you surrounded yourself with competent people. And one of the things that has distinguished this latest administration is he surrounded himself with incompetent people. The only criteria for having them is loyalty to him. And so these incompetent people, you put them in charge of FEMA, and there are disastrous results. You put them in charge of the Department of Defense, which I guess we call the Department of War now, and you get incompetency. And if the generals, the admirals disagree with you, they get replaced by people who go along with whatever Trump wants. So we're following the whims of a person who's not necessarily compos mentis, or at least not all the time.
There's a major candidate who says that Trump shits his pants in the Oval Office. Abdul El Sayed, who just won his primary, said Trump they asked him about something, and he basically said, at least Trump shit himself in the Oval Office.
Welcome, Jatovi. Welcome, Sasha. It's good to see both of you. And we're talking now about climate change, the effect on the energy needs, and Sharif was telling us about what the experience is like with the icebergs and glaciers in the Himalayas melting. And I was in Norway last week, and last year, and we can see icebergs melting. We got it up close and personal to these things. And so when are we going to get out of the denial that this is real? There's heat waves in Europe, heat waves in the United States. And is there any chance that the people in the United States will wake up and realize that this is a coming catastrophe and we need action now and get off of fossil fuels as much as we can? Jatovi?
The sad reality, there's a feedback from somewhere. I'm not sure which one it's coming from. But the sad reality is there will be half of the country will understand the science behind it. The other half won't. What science has become is it's become political. And if it's not based in your politics, you're not going to believe it. You're going to think it's fake now. That is what has been ushered in this era of our political system right now. Until that leaves, nothing's going to change. And what makes it hard for it to change is the fact that there's so much money in politics, and that money in politics is what's paying for this whole dismantling of what science is. I mean, RFK is dismantling everything about our healthcare system because it's based on his ideology, his conspiracy theories, and everything else. And so our healthcare system is going to be destroyed, especially with vaccines. He's the world's leading anti-vaxxer, and this is why we have the measles outbreak. We have Ebola coming back. We have all these diseases that are happening, but he doesn't care because he thinks that if you stand out in the sun, you'll be just fine. Or if you, we take the color out of foods, everything is going to be great. I can't read this ingredient, so it must be illegal, even though there's a different name for that same ingredient in other countries. And it's not causing any problems. You're just trying to make stuff up because you're not a scientist. And so that is a representation of 50% of the country right now.
But it's not just money in politics, it's money in newscasting to your side of the political spectrum. Fox News is a juggernaut. If Fox News went away, like half of the belief in bullshit would also go away. but Fox is a huge enterprise. If you have cable, you're paying $1 or $2 a month to get hit with propaganda that has you believing stuff that isn't true.
Sadly, I disagree with that. I don't think it's going to go away that easy. If Fox weren't here tomorrow, because the news and what people get their information from is so decentralized right now, people are going to YouTube, people are going to TikTok, people are going to Facebook, people are going to Twitter. Right now, what people are searching for, they don't want to be challenged on what they believe, because what they believe, they feel is personal. What they're searching for is a confirmation bias. If I can find somebody, there's speaking of YouTube, there is actually a YouTube video by a group, College Humor. It's pretty hilarious because what they do is they set up a guy in an office, and in that office, the guy calls himself Google. And what they read off, they have individuals in a line, and what is going on is people are coming to his office to ask Google. And the bit is called "What if Google were a guy?" So they have the different people coming through asking, exactly what they would type in Google. Well, there's actually one, and this is what they poke fun at about the whole science thing. This is where it's a great analogy. People do go ask Google for vaccination information. Vaccines cause autism. And the guy pulls out a whole stack. I mean, it's like, a super stack of stuff, piled high, saying this is this information of science and research that shows that Google does not, or that vaccines don't cause autism. But here's this one sheet of paper that somebody wrote that says it does. And instead of looking at the stack of science, the person took the one sheet of paper. And that's where we are right now, is people are going to search for confirmation bias. They're not going to go, if Fox disappeared, they're going to go on TikTok and listen to Candace Owens talk about this stuff. They're going to listen to Jason Whitlock. They're going to listen to, this is why Trump took, what's his name? He's taking these right-wing influencers, sending them to the White House. This is why Russia paid right-wing influencers a ton of money to say what they wanted them to say, or to promote Trump. I mean, it's not going away for a while.
Speaking of not going away and all along those lines, Jacoby, what's your thoughts around this new book? Because it's actually involving somebody that is nationally known, maybe even internationally known, but he's now got an author to his title, because apparently Tom Tillis has written a book where he is not being exactly friendly to Trump, even though at one point he was a Trump ally. So apparently recently he announced on MS Now he wrote a book, How to Lose Friends and Antagonize Presidents. So the trouble with sycophants, courage outsourcing, and partisan group think. And his publisher HarperCollins explained the book. Outspoken and uncensored North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis pulls no punches about his time in Washington and how the sycophants surrounding President Trump, spineless Republican yes men and women, and the weirdos of the MAGA world can't get out of their own way. So apparently he's going after some of the Trump folks, even though, like I said, he used to be a major time supporter of him and everything like that. So what's your take on this new book from Mr. Tillis? Anybody that wants to take this question.
I didn't want to jump down the that book is worthless. The reason it's worthless, Tom Tillis voted for Trump multiple times. He actually campaigned for Trump multiple times. And now he's writing a book talking about sycophants, and he voted in the same direction as Trump, even promoted his policies and all. That's a worthless book. He's not coming out. We legitimately had Todd Blanche up for, he says, I can't vote for Todd Blanche unless he gets rid of the slush fund. They can still bring the slush fund back. He didn't get anything out of it. But you know what else he didn't say that could have blocked him? What he did with Ghislaine Maxwell. Didn't care about that at all. Didn't care about the victims of the whole Epstein stuff. Didn't care about that. Didn't care about all The reason that Trump got rid of Pam Bondi is because he didn't go after he didn't get his vengeance fast enough. So he put Blanche inside. Blanche did the same thing. He didn't care about that. So Tom Tillis, that book is worthless. He's just trying to make money.
He's definitely trying to make money, and apparently he said he considers President Donald Trump a CEO, and we know what kind of luck he's had as a CEO. And he said no CEO has experience in every aspect of a corporation. So even though he did blame Hedges for failing the president on the Iranian campaign, and he said that that's a perfect example of what not to do. But he says you have to have good, strong-willed, smart people with experience to look around corners. So I think he's actually throwing a lot of Trump people under the bus, if I can use that old expression, and everything along those lines. But yeah, it sounds like he's definitely going after everybody but Trump and everything like
Well,
that.
Hegseth is the least qualified Secretary of Defense / war in, I don't know, that I've ever heard of. He only rose to major. He got fired out of every leadership position he ever had. Alcoholic, paid a $50,000 rape settlement, just wasn't allowed to participate in certain things in the military because of his white supremacist chest and shoulder tattoos. Just an overall dumb shit and aggressive dumb shit.
Yeah, and apparently he's saying he's not going to switch.
Oh, also 85 days until the midterms. So the stuff coming out of Trump and the White House is going to get a little crazier every day. His poll numbers are bad. They're not going to get better. There's a lot of desperation. So just hold on to your butts.
Hey, Rick, apparently this is a case of one of those desperations, because Tillis says, I want Republicans to win in November. That's why I'm speaking out. And apparently the book comes out on October 6th, less than a month before the general election. So I think that he's hoping that this book will somehow sway maybe some independents or sway some other folks that might have been thinking about voting the Democratic side. Because I did see on a recent YouTube that there is a path to the Democrats capturing not just the House, but the Senate. And it does involve North Carolina. I think it involves Maine, but it's like about 4 states that I think have to be swayed in order for there to be a total switch of power and everything along those lines. But of course, there's the other factors that are tied into that, such as the possibility that Fetterman may switch parties and everything like that. But there is this notion that we may see something go on in the sense of there being some party sway. Now, most people are saying that the House is going to be definitely Democratic run, but not quite the Senate.
So if Fetterman just wants leverage, plus he's a little crazy, but if he's constantly threatening to switch parties, that gives him a ton of leverage in the Senate. Both sides kiss his ass to try to win him over.
Well, as far as Fetterman is concerned, don't let the door hit you in the butt on the way out, because the guy is a tremendous disappointment to me. He kind of ran as this, everyman kind of guy who's going to, be an independent voice, and he's turned into another one is Susan Collins of Maine, and that's a race that I'm tracking closely. Susan Collins was the constant tease when she was saying she had concerns and she might not vote for her. And then, 95% of the time she votes along with whatever Trump wants. So these are the types of people, they say one thing and they do another. Pay attention to what they do and vote accordingly. But, these types of things are U.S. focused. And we're talking about the global politics of the situation. And, there's too much war going on right now. What's going on in Ukraine and Russia, what's going on in, the tragedies that are going on in Gaza right now, the tomfoolery of sending missiles against Iran in the hopes of getting regime change. And you took out a very extreme but conservative, cautious ruler, and you put in place an extreme, uncautious ruler in place. And so you got a regime change of a kind, but not what he was wanting. And when the Iranian people were protesting, that was maybe the time to strike if you're going to try to get a real people's type of revolt going. But not after the Iranian government harshly suppressed it and put it down. So, the timing was stupid. if that was what your goal was. But Trump has never really articulated the goal. What is it now to open the Strait of Hormuz? And well, it was open before he did this, and so this is. We're hearing nonsense, and when we're hearing things coming out of the White House, we have to check with, what's Iran saying, because he'll say that an agreement is right around the corner, and Iran will say we're not talking. And so, we cannot trust what's coming down out of the White House. And this breakdown of trust is hitting our country in many, many ways, but it's made us untrustworthy around the world. So
you talk about us brutally suppressing. The Iranian regime killed 40,000 to 50,000 of its own people, protesters in the street. So it would have been better. It would have been easier to overthrow the regime with those 50,000 people out in the streets still alive. But we waited too long. If we were going to do it at all, I mean, the timing is stupid.
I disagree with that assessment, though. That assessment assumes that only those 50,000 and those 50, it's an oppressive regime. So those 50,000 may have been just like the individuals that are there now. The problem comes into play is that it should have never happened. There should never have been. We've been able to stay out of war the whole time. I mean, for years, and keep their nuclear, they're wanting to get nuclear weapons. Kept that in check for years, but no, now they don't even have to get nuclear weapons. They got the Strait of Hormuz.
Sasha, I saw your hand up.
When you mentioned something about that Iran doesn't talk to US. Instead, they issue written ultimatum in writing. And here what they're telling to US, just pack your thing and get the hell out of here. Strait of Hormuz will be controlled by us and Oman. You have to pay reparations, you have to release the funds, Iranian funds, you have to take off all the blockade and sanctions against Iran and just everything. And there is not a word about the nuclear program of Iran, not even a word. So this is a complete humiliation, open wide to the whole world to see it, because it's been published everywhere in English. So you cannot hide that the translation was not exact and that meant something else and that it's not right. It has to be another way around or so on. No excuses. So now Trump has to himself, or he may be hiding behind Hogshead and what else, Rubio, some generals and so on, say that, US actually won the war, we finished the war, we won it, thank you very much. No, Iran will not allow US just to run away. No, there are consequences of this attack on Iran. So you have to pay, my dear friend, and they will not be allowed to escape and just hide and say, okay, well, it was our miscalculations, nothing terrible about it. No, there is a price to pay, and do it now.
Yes, and it's funny that we're paying more attention to what Iran says than what the White House says to find out.
The White House says nothing. Okay, it was published by, I'll tell you exactly, 5 o'clock Eastern time, Saturday. Okay, so now it's almost 2 days later. There is nothing coming from the White House. What can they say?
What can they say? And this is a guy, again, he kidnapped one national leader and he assassinated another, and there's no consequences. And this is what Trump learned from his first administration. There's no consequences. So he can do anything he wants. And he admires people like Putin, like Kim of North Korea, the outgoing ex-president of Hungary, who are despots. and autocrats. And that's what he thinks the presidency is now. And there's no one with a spine in Congress to tell him otherwise, unless we put people in Congress that will tell him otherwise.
But
There
there is
was a
very
rule
interesting
in.
just explain. There was a very interesting program actually on CNN Sunday morning about that. Let's assume that Democrats win the House and possibly Senate as well. What kind of party is going to be? It's going to be Democratic Socialistic Party or Democratic United Party or Democratic Traditional Party of some kind. What is going exactly to be? Anybody has answer?
I got the answer for you. It's still going to be the Democrat Party. I mean, what we're blowing out of proportion is the fact that you have four Democrat socialists or claim to be Democrat socialists who won primaries. 4 out of hundreds. On top of that, you have the Democrat socialists who claim to be a separate thing, but they are only 96,000, I think, less than 100,000 out of millions. So it's not going to change. Mamdani was considered a Democrat socialist, and therefore New York isn't really a socialist or whatever. It's just they're trying. What the problem is that the young individuals that are coming up want to get things done. They're tired of the routine. They're tired of being pushed around. So for these entities just want to get things done. And so we're blowing that out of proportion while ignoring the fact that we have what's going on in the White House and what's going on the other party, or on the side of the Republican Party and so on and so forth. Because there's a lot of things in there. Tom Tillis, had him talking about that. But I think one thing that we know in Glasgow that I think honestly Jim said, and honestly, Jim talked about not being able to Trump. And Josh, you talked about people that listen to Iran. Think about that. People are trusting the Iranian government more so than they trust the U.S. That tells you where we are.
That's right. And I agree with what Jatovia is saying is the pendulum swings in our political situation, and we swung hard right. And it elected MAGA people and then Trump people, and they have misgoverned. There's no question. So the pendulum is swinging this way, and so you're hearing a lot more, and they're seeing some success of the Democratic Socialists. But that doesn't mean they've taken over the Democratic Party. Now MAGA did take over the Republican Party. The Republican Party was unrecognizable. The Republican Party was for free trade, and now we have the president representing them, putting on tariffs. There's and they were anti-Russian, and now this guy loves Putin. He respects Putin. He thinks Putin is powerful. He admires him, looks up to him. And come on, man, we have to get the pendulum back. But it's not going all the way hard left that it did going this way, the hard right. We're going to be a little left of center perhaps in the next election, but not wildly so. And this is not such a bad thing. What we really need to get is the people that are a little left of center and a little right of center to actually become the consensus. And then we'll see this country at its best.
And the funny thing, if you think about it, if you go to both sides, the way that the sides are right now, one party wants to give you, you go to the extreme of that one party, they want to give you free college. They want to give you free health care. They don't want billionaires because they want to spread the wealth around and have everybody on a plateau. If you go to the extreme of the other party, they want to whiten the U.S., so they want to kick out anybody with melanin in their skin. They also want to put those who are here or who can't move, they want to put them in chains and in jail. So you have one extreme that goes that way and one extreme. And which extreme are you really scared of?
Extremists of all sorts are scary, and that's been true historically as well as today.
I want to bring up a principle of politics that if you have bad news and don't want people to notice, you release the news late on Friday afternoon. So you got the whole weekend for people to forget about it. So Todd Blanche, the Attorney General, nobody wants. He was confirmed at 4:30 in the morning at the end of a Friday. That's about the latest on a Friday you can frickin' do anything. 4:30 a.m. They made all these 80-year-old senators stick around until 5 in the frickin' morning.
You do the news drop because you don't want to have the follow-up behind it. Everybody knows that Todd Blanche, nobody wanted Todd Blanche, especially because of all the things Todd Blanche has done. But they did that because of it.
Yeah, that's a famous
I would
thing.
like to mention something, that there is this economic inequality that is evident today in today's America. And with the enormous decline of Republican Party because of Trump primarily, but not only Trump, and also Republicans, they don't have any idea to be announced how to make life of Americans easier, better. Democrats may actually, in some scenarios, they can go for broke. They can go for left, socialist, communist, or whatever it might be, agenda, and still win both the House and the Senate, because people are upset with Republicans so much that they will vote for Democrats anyway. And in fact, Democrats, even if they have that scenario in mind, they could for a while camouflage it and just hide it somewhat, win the elections, and only then produce their true agenda, and they will have all tools to implement it. But let's think about something. If that scenario will actually take place, is it indeed so horrible for American people? I don't think so, because all this terminology like socialist and communist, they're absolutely impractical for this scenario, because I know myself very well by living in Soviet Union what is exactly socialism and communism. Nothing like that. Any crazy, whether it's Mandami or whoever it is, they don't even dream of such scenario. So the only thing what could happen, in my opinion, is that taxes on super rich will be raised. And it's about time, because you have many times situation where CEO or president of the company making 150 times that was medium salary in the company. In Sweden, it's 7 times, 9 times, if you wish. Some countries, 20 times, but nowhere in the world 150 times. It's unbearable. So basically, money. Okay, so there's a product is being created, and everybody contributed to development and creation of that product. All of a sudden, here is a president or CEO that, oh, you all go away. Okay, you will get your $3,000 a month. Okay, but I will get paid $5 million a month because I have the right. My board of directors told me to take. Okay, you know what? Take it, but pay taxes, because most of the CEO and the president, they're not even paying taxes. So all these greatest companies, Microsoft, worth trillions of dollars, and this one. What American taxpayers, what use of this mighty corporation is when they are domesticated in Ireland, for example, and they're paying 10% tax in Ireland. Nothing comes to United States. So what are you talking about? It's a complete bamboozle, and people don't even understand how they're being taken advantage of.
And the craziest part, this is why he's pushing so hard to get this immunity deal from the taxation and everything else, is because last year his wealth jumped billions of dollars, and he was selling products or part of boards and everything, selling products, so he would be taxed on that. Now, if he gets this immunity deal and his family gets these immunity deals, nothing happens. So he doesn't have to pay taxes from now through the future. That's why he's fighting so hard, because he has never made this much money before. Never. In his whole lifetime, he's never made this much money. He was never a part of these products before. Now he is. So he's trying his hardest to avoid taxes.
So you can ask, how do people keep voting against their interest? And I would argue, well, the one reason is because our poorness is much fancier now than poorness was in the 1930s. In the 1930s, there was people genuinely worried there was going to be a revolution, a socialist or communist, that people were so pissed because in the 30s, you didn't have shit. You didn't have a car. You didn't have crops. All you had was, if you had a dime, you could go to the movies. Now, if you have $268, you can buy a 60-inch TV at Walmart. When I was a kid, the biggest TV you could get, even if you were a millionaire, was 24 inches. And we have credit cards that let us postpone the pain. We have a lot of structures in place to help people lie to themselves that the administration isn't really screwing them as bad as they're getting screwed.
Well, I would say that it's more so a lack of understanding of how government works. People don't understand where their taxes are. People think taxes can be a la carte and will be good. It's not that way. The road that we have to drive on, even out of my neighborhood, is paid by the taxes across the city. Me doing this a la carte thing, I'll just pay for my own road. It doesn't work that way. So people's lack of understanding, and it's easy to fool people and say, well, that road outside that your neighbor's driving on, or that other group is driving on, you pay for it. It's not the way that it works. They don't understand from how the police department is paid. Don't understand how the fire department is paid. They think that they understand how the military is paid. They don't understand that. It's true lack of understanding of how government and how it's paid.
Well, Toby, you're right. But, Obama took a lot of heat when he said you didn't build that. And, so this just highlights the disconnect between the reality of a situation and people's will to understand the reality of the situation. And, we do rely on the government for many, many things. And the thing is that you kind of get the government you deserve. And, if you don't vote, then, whatever happens, you got no say in it. You got no right to complain. And if you vote and you lose, you can complain, but what good does that do? So round up your neighbors, tell the people, go out and vote. And even if they vote the opposite the way that you want them to, it's important that every American citizen does their civic duty. This is what the founders of this country relied upon, an informed citizenry, checking the government. And Jefferson actually expected revolutions periodically because he knew that the government would become dysfunctional and probably autocratic. There was we were revolting against the king, and now people want a king again, and or some people do. And they think that, especially, I can remember one person during Trump's first run for presidency saying, I didn't think I wanted a dictator, but as long as the dictator is Trump, I want it. And, there is that sentiment, but I don't think it's the majority of the country. And I think if the majority of the country shows up and votes, we'll throw the bums out.
One problem is dumb shits have a microphone. When in my dad's time, if you lived in a town, everything was like face to face and people knew who the dumb shits were. Now, like when I see a lot of tweets from MAGAs, and not everybody's an idiot. There are doctors and nurses who are MAGAs, but there are also a lot of people who had to be those kids who were really quiet in the back of the class all through high school because they didn't understand jack shit. And they're out there like messaging dozens of times a day. And, Jacoby was talking about how you can get rid of Fox News and it won't change much. It's because you've got battalions of doofuses flooding social media with garbage from people who don't understand anything.
Precisely, Rick. And you also saw the change when Twitter became X. Elon Musk, the billionaire, exerted control, and he silenced journalists, and he
made it super friendly for racists.
Precisely.
You can say the N-word now. All dozens of times a day. You can get reported, and then Twitter writes you back. X writes you back, says, yeah, they broke the rules. They don't enforce the rules. All you get is an email, but there's no enforcement on the people spreading hate and stupidity and lies.
It's because, like I said earlier, people don't like the challenge. It's a natural thing. Nobody wants to be one. So what do you do? Confirmation bias. Then it becomes an echo chamber. These two people said I'm right. Let me listen to them. Oh, those three people said I'm right. Let me just listen to them. Forget about the thousands and millions of people who say I'm wrong. No, I'm just going to listen to this right here.
Yeah, that is one of the things, is that people do seek out the information sources that confirm their biases, as Jacoby pointed out earlier. But the thing is that you have to give them a choice. When we were growing up, when I was growing up, I should say, we had three choices: ABC, NBC, and CBS, and they were all pretty much saying the same thing. So I still believe that the internet is a good thing, that you have more ability to find out the facts for yourself, but people aren't willing to do the research that's necessary to truly be informed, to get multiple perspectives, and to make up your own mind. They like to be told what they think already. It's difficult to change your mind. We're always trying to change someone else's mind, but we never think about changing our own. And sometimes you have to be open to other ideas. And this current use of the word communism as a scare tactic, which has been one of Trump's go-tos, to scare people. And, people, I think, don't remember history. They don't remember Joe McCarthy, a senator, waving documents that had nothing to do with what he was saying, claiming that they were he had proof that there were communists in the State Department. And we have been down this road before, but if you don't know the history, you're doomed to repeat it. Rick?
There's the Overton window, which is the window of acceptable shit you can say in debate. And it's shifted almost to the point where idiots can say Hitler had some good ideas, because Hitler died more than 80 years ago. People don't remember. People are uninformed. And Joe McCarthy was around 70 plus years ago. So no, people do not remember Joe McCarthy being a scumbag, alcoholic, bullshitter senator, or I don't know what, who raised all these false warnings about commies in the government.
Get ready to go into Economics Mondays, Rick, and everything like that. But just really quickly, I did have a quick question for you, Rick, which I heard that on London that there was a crackdown on like muscle vehicles, Ferraris and cars, because apparently there's a lot of anti-social driving that goes on in that space. And I know that you are very much involved in that space as well, with your having family members there. But are there a lot of people that are doing anti-social driving?
Okay, so I can comment because I live in LA and we have a lot of noise in the middle of the night from muscle cars. People will burn out in the middle of intersect. We have wide streets. I live close to Laurel Canyon Boulevard, which is, I don't know, it's more than 100 feet wide in a lot of places. And then Ventura Boulevard, same thing. At 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, fairly deserted. So maniacs go do, drifting and all sorts of, stuff that you use a muscle car for. London as a city is more than 2,000 years old. It's got teeny little frickin' streets that you couldn't even drive a normal size American car down. It takes a special kind of asshole to try to do the same shit in London that you do in LA. London's not set up for big ass cars. I'm sure they find the big intersections and then they, take them over in the middle of the night, but it's stupider there. It's stupid here, but double stupid there.
Yeah, because apparently in some of these cities like Kensington and other ones, they were, I think they got like $10 million worth of these big cars and everything like that. So I know that that's not that many, but it's enough to make an impact on what was going on in London. That it was a story that they were doing that over the weekend. They were getting, I know I saw Ferraris.
You got Jag-offs every place.
Yeah. Cool. Well, on that note, we're going to get out of here. Economics is going on right now, and I'll catch y'all hopefully over there.
Right.
When he took office, it was 2.4.